This week, we're once again putting PlayStation in the hot seat, and we're discussing everyone's new favorite topic, AI. This is the Good Game, Bad Game podcast.
This is a song I wrote about the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. Good Game, Bad Game podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. I'm your host, Spencer, and with me is a man who spends his time caring more about graphic settings and outputs than he actually puts in games. That's right. The real reason he's so backed up is because he's too busy demanding 3,000 frames per second. It's my co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
Can I, gripe about something for a second?
Please.
I think the biggest scam of this console generation is performance versus, I don't know, what do they call it? Like, high fidelity graphics settings.
Yeah.
I mean, at least on the Series X, I don't know if this is how it is on PS5, but if you if you change any game to the high graphics mode, it just becomes complete dog shit.
I'm going to be totally honest. I rarely ever touch it.
I've gotten to that point.
It's performance mode and quality mode?
Yeah.
Is that right? Performance mode and...
Well, it's certainly not quality.
And... I don't know. I'm really at the point where, and it's probably just my stupid feed on Twitter at this point, just feeding me this constant just stream of bullshit. And it's like one of those things where it's like, well, the algorithm clearly knows how to target me, but I just feel like people are just so goddamn worried about like all these numbers. And it's like the whole I think it was back during the PS4 maybe, or maybe it was right at the beginning of the PS5 stuff, and it was so long ago at this point. But do you remember all of the like teraflops nonsense? Mm-hmm. Like who has more teraflops? And it's like the average person does not know what the fuck that is.
Right.
Who cares? Just stop. Just shut up.
Like an accurate measurement
I don't fucking know, Michael.
Yeah, that was a big deal in the groups that I associated myself with.
I do not. Performance? Did we say performance already? Performance is the mode we were already talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Who cares, right? Like,
who cares?
As long as the game is like playable, and anybody who says that like anything that isn't 60 frames per second is unplayable, I think you're fucking high. I don't think you're right. Or if it is truly unplayable for you, there still has to be plenty of fucking games out there for you to play.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's unplayable, but I would rather have a higher frame rate than better graphics.
Okay.
I just think it I don't know, sometimes having a lower and I'm not saying like 30s. I mean, I have an Xbox, I've got to be pretty accustomed to shit getting locked at 30 FPS.
Mm-hmm.
But like I certainly for example, Forza. I can get that game at around 120 FPS, and that looks incredible. It's amazing. And like I recently played started playing the 10-hour demo of Madden 25 on my Xbox One X. And
yes, the time has come.
Probably on my One X, so like trust me, it's not great. It's very hard to play. It's very jarring.
Okay.
Like the graphics are bad and the frame rate's bad. Like stuff like that bothers me, and it's like hard for me to go back to PS3 games. But I mean, where I was getting with this performance versus high quality mode, like I like that you have the option if you prefer one thing over the other.
Mm-hmm.
But the high quality mode is just so bad, and I wish it were.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, dude. It's just I'm just, it's very tiresome. Just this is constantly the fight over every single game that comes out is like, oh well, can I play it at X FPS? And it's like if you don't look, if you don't check, if you don't like burden yourself with any of these thoughts, will you actually notice? Is my question.
Yeah, probably not.
And like, can you tell the difference? Like, sure, like you were saying, like with Forza, right? Like if you like get it up to 120, it looks amazing, right? And so like in a specific game, right? Like you're gonna notice like the differences. But game to game, if you're just jumping around, and like Nintendo's like to kind of always give Nintendo their flowers. Nintendo's kind of just the pinnacle of like why some of these things just do not fucking matter clearly. But we get so wrapped up with these like the need for hyper realistic graphics, and then at the same time we bitch about how long it takes for games to get developed and how much money goes into making the games, and then no sequels happen because the games don't make nearly enough money to make up for the fact that how much money was spent on them. So with that, how about Concord?
How about Concord?
That's doing pretty good, huh?
Yeah, best grapes in town.
Obviously Steam charts aren't the end all be all because the game did release on console, but I don't think it has had more than 1,000 people. I think the peak for it actually is like 600 some on Steam. And I really just want to stress that like the reason that game is doing poorly is because PlayStation tried to make a game like that and sell it for $40 in an era where like there's just too many options for people who enjoy that genre to play those games and those experiences for free, or their money has already been spent to be in those games. So like, why would they go out and spend an additional $40? Which is a shame, because actually I've been seeing some reviews that have said that like the game plays fairly well for like what it's trying to do, right? For me, it doesn't look like good at all because I just don't enjoy hero shooters or online shooters or like any of those, right? But like from what I'm seeing is like a lot of the general reception seems to be, yeah, it's got good bones, it's gonna fail. And it's like it's such a shame that like PlayStation, but it's like another example. Like you look at like the graphics for that game and stuff, and like the like cutscenes and stuff that they like put together and stuff. You can tell like a lot of time and effort was put into that, and it looks really good. They spent so much fucking money on it, and it's gonna just flop and not make back nearly that amount, and it's just such a shame. Not understanding the market.
Has Sony ever considered making another Uncharted?
Like, bro,
Just throwing it out there.
I don't know.
I would buy a PS5
right
today,
away.
because who knows what tomorrow brings.
Seriously. Yeah. I don't know. It's just it's a clear indication of, like I said, not understanding the market at all. But
Why are we talking about Concord again?
That's also par for the course for Sony. Why are we talking about it? Because I said that people shouldn't worry about how many players are in a game. Like stat watching games makes no sense. And then I immediately followed that up with saying, that's right, week in, week out, we here at GGBG will be posting and talking about the Concord player numbers.
Yeah, that was a. Yep.
That was a bit from
board the whole time.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'm just going to stress right now, this is probably the final time we will be talking about it, and until it's newsworthy that the game goes free to play or something like that.
That would be really interesting, and then you'd get the backlash from all the people who bought it.
Right, which would be kind of rightfully deserved, but
yeah, and they're not going to get refunded the money; they're just going to get like in-game content.
Right.
Like not even useful in-game content, just like skins.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I mean, PlayStation does do like free-to-play weekends for certain like online focused games. So who knows? Like for like PlayStation Plus members, so who knows what they'll do? But yeah, just again missed the mark, and it's just all too familiar for PlayStation, which I think leads us perfectly into something else that PlayStation has done, which is a price increase for the PS5 in Japan, to be clear. So it was announced that both the PS5 and PS5 Digital are getting a 13,000 yen increase. I did the conversion for us dumb Americans to know what that is. Basically, it's like
I don't know what that means.
What do you mean? You don't know what dumb Americans mean, or what yens are?
Well, I'm very positive. I know what dumb Americans
yeah, I did the conversion. It basically nets out to like just under $100 in terms of a price increase. So it's going from like 460 something to 550 something, like 550 and change, 460 and change. And all like peripherals, accessories, and stuff like that are getting a price increase. Again, in Japan, which is insane because that has got to be. I mean, what the Japanese market is probably second to US.
You don't think it's bigger?
I don't know.
I don't know either, because I was going to say like that's wild for the second biggest market. Like that's the first thing that came to my mind, but then I thought about it.
It could. I mean, it very well could be, or could vie to be the top market for PlayStation, especially. But I think
what's going on?
What do you mean?
Like just I don't understand how we're in a place in the world where a 4-year-old console is getting a damn near 20% price increase in one of its largest markets.
Oh yeah,
that's wild.
I mean, my question is it because they're just unchecked? Like, is it because they're so unchecked in like the Japanese market? Like, is Xbox doing enough to make waves, or like, does Sony have, in very loose terms, effectively a stranglehold on the market there that like they can just kind of do whatever the fuck they want?
Maybe with my geopolitical tinfoil hat on, I kind of think it's more trade war related.
Okay.
I think China's. I'm sure it's not. I should probably do some research on see what other prices have increased in Japan. Um, because I don't think they have quite the level of inflation that the United States has, but I almost feel like China is kind of weaponizing technology manufacturing.
Okay.
I don't know if that's via like tariffs or they're just saying well, these chips are now triple the price. I mean, these things fluctuate. They always have. Like
Sure.
it's not a new thing. Um, it's a new thing that console manufacturers are increasing prices because of it. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
I think it's more geopolitical related.
it's regardless of really the reason, it's ridiculous. Like you said, that 4 years, 5 years into a console being released, the price should not be going up. The price should really, from release point, never go up. That makes absolutely no sense.
Mhm.
Why would I pay more for tech that is old?
Especially when supply is up and demand is down.
Right. Um. Yeah, that's just insane, right? Um. I saw somebody said that they thought it was because uh, China has been selling out of PS5s because of Black Myth coming out, which
Mm.
that's been insane. You want to talk about player count for a game. It had like a peak of like 2 point something on Steam. I don't know if it now holds the record. And then once it hit like midnight China time, it dropped to like 200,000. So like I mean obviously it's like a very um big like Chinese lore and stuff like that. So it makes a ton of sense that it would have like a ton of attention, especially there. But like it's insane to just see like that market completely blow up for a game. But I don't think it makes sense to raise the price because of selling out in a different country to then raise the price in a totally separate country. But maybe I'm missing a link there.
Yeah. So I'm looking at an article from CNBC, so take that for whatever it's worth with inverse Kramer and such. Um, we're in trouble when Kramer is long on Sony. So they're just saying it's to quote it, a challenging external environment, including fluctuations in the global economy, as the reason for the price increase. So I think China is jacking up prices on manufacturing them.
Yeah. But like yeah, I don't know. We've had various other economical fluctuations in the past that have not led to again a price increase for
Sure.
the console. So it's just crazy that these are the times that we're in. Like normally that doesn't get passed on to the consumer is I guess where I'm netting out on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a frustrating sight I think to see that like long gone are the days of waiting a couple of years to get a console so that it's more economically viable for you.
Yeah.
Because that's not an option anymore. Like if you want to play um like current gen games, if you want to be in the current gen, it does not matter if we're in year 3, 4, 5, 6. You have to pay $500 to get in, and that's crazy.
And there weren't even like there haven't been any decent sales this generation either. Like maybe $50.
No, honestly, if we want to talk about sales, Xbox has been like unless I'm forgetting, I don't think Xbox has had a price increase for their consoles.
They're just making it up in services.
Yeah. And I mean the Series S is, I mean, I said that you have to pay $500. I mean, Series S is still really the easiest way to get into
Right.
current gen.
And it's frequently on sale.
Right.
At least $50. Sometimes I've seen it for as low as $200 for the like base. I guess that one's 500. Can't remember if it's 256 gigs or 500 gigs. But yeah, I mean, and kind of back to our conversation earlier, like if you don't care about having the best graphics, like it runs games fine.
Right.
In terms of frame rate and all that kind of fun stuff.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you're paying to have the lowest barrier of entry. So, no, it's just crazy. It's absolutely insane. And you're right. There have not been very good sales. I mean, the best you can do when it comes to PlayStation in terms of value, like a value driven purchase, is a bundle that comes with, God of War or
Right.
because, again, if you're actually thinking about it, yeah, okay, a console's $500. What you're not accounting for is the fact that you also need to buy a game to play for it, which is going to run you $70 now. So very quickly that balloons. It's not a cheap hobby.
Not anymore.
And yeah, it's disheartening, I would say, to see, like, again, these price increases happen and to see that buck passed on to the consumer. It's the consumer's responsibility. Is really, really frustrating.
Imagine if Jim Ryan didn't have that golden parachute.
Yeah, imagine. Yeah, he got out at the right time, huh?
Yeah. He said, "This place is going to shit. I'm out."
Yeah. He said, "We're going to make 24 live service games, starting with Concord." Okay, bye, everybody. Unreal. Absolutely unreal. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to touch on when it came to this. Speaking of
You think it's
Xbox,
gonna?
I like that we both just stopped.
I was just staring at my mic.
I was staring at the monitor to see if your little Discord thing was gonna light up again. Please.
Do you think we're gonna see price increases in the U.S.?
Yeah. So I don't think we have been hit any of the times that they've increased prices, if I'm remembering correctly. So I don't know.
But we've also never really seen it in Japan before, right? It's usually Australia or Europe.
Why do I think Japan did get hit with a price increase the last round that happened?
Did they?
I vaguely am remembering that they did, and I remember us finding that surprising, but maybe I'm wrong. And I don't know
Maybe
how
I
much
just
it
care more
was at that point. And that was almost, I mean, that might have been, why do I feel like that was before I moved? So we're looking at, that was over a year ago that happened. Does that sound right? Maybe.
I frankly don't remember us talking about it before.
I mean, I'm almost positive we talked about a price increase to the consoles before, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I feel like we aren't gonna see a price increase, but maybe I'm wrong. I also think we're probably close to, I would imagine, a PS5 Pro announcement coming up here shortly. So, but yeah, I don't know. Do you think the US will see an increase?
I don't know. Like, if that feels unreal. If it does,
Yeah. It's just such a it's such a bold strategy, right? Like to take something that has been already hard enough to like obtain, right? For how long? And then, as soon as people have the opportunity, go, yeah, but now that you have the opportunity, you have to pay $50 more or $100 more for something that is already expensive. It's just such a strategy. And I feel like, for the most part, they've been able to somewhat get away with maintaining the price by like rolling out like the second edition. So like the, whatever it was, a little slimmer maybe. And, I don't know if there's actually anything else like hardware wise about it that was like particularly better. I guess they got rid of the dumb wings on the console, if I remember correctly. I don't know, but like they did that, and so I guess that passes as like an update to it. You know what I mean? So like you can kind of keep the price and not need to lower it because like we went through how many PS3s, which the PS3 went a different direction because those did get cheaper, even though they changed model type and stuff. But
right,
you know what I mean? Like because you're releasing,
made them better. I mean, about, like,
right?
The storage sizes that were coming out, like when the PS3 was released, compared to like, getting a 256 gig solid state in like the very last model, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, so if a PS5 Pro comes out, like, it'll be interesting there to see, like, okay, well, does the price, like, for pricing, does it just slot in as like the new norm and like the current, like, we'll see a slight drop, or is the current just going to stay where it's at and the Pro is going to be an additional $100 to $200 or something ridiculous? And it's probably going to be the latter.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was going to say I saw something and I don't have it in front of me anymore, but it was basically the value of Xbox's because you brought up Xbox and like subscriptions and stuff like that in terms of where they kind of make up their ground. There were numbers released that was like hardware plus services plus the fact that now Xbox has Activision Blizzard as well, and they officially outpace PlayStation with those offerings, which is pretty crazy.
What were so it was, run that by me again?
It was like hardware plus services and like where those two are at. And then there was like those things, but like now that Xbox has Activision Blizzard.
Oh, okay.
And their like total number is like past. But again, I don't have the thing in front of me. But
yeah.
So, but yeah, I saw that recently. So obviously there is a ton of value there for Xbox.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the effect, and it's hard to say how much time we have left in this generation, but like, will that kind of flip some market cap in Japan with the price increases?
I mean, right? Like, kind of have a pretty good thing going there. Yeah, I don't know. Bold strategy. We'll see.
Yeah, we will.
All right. Let's get into our other topic. So we haven't talked about it much, but SAG-AFTRA is currently on strike against the video game industry for voice actors, and Games Radar had a and the strike is around AI. Sorry, and Games Radar published an article where they had a conversation with Amazon Games CEO Christoph Hartmann. Oh, I'm sorry. This was with IG. This was with an interview with IGN. Apologies. Media, am I right? And in it, he talked about AI and its contribution, and one specific quote is that Hartman said, "For games, we don't really have acting." And I feel like that's a pretty ridiculous statement.
Well, for their games, they're mostly like giant MMOs, right? So they kind of don't.
So yeah, fair in a way, but Games Radar did account for that. They say even New World, which is Amazon's biggest internally developed game to date, has quite a cast. If you look at the credits list for the MMO, which features around 200 distinct voice roles, each of which is performed by up to 8 different actors, accounting for the game's various localizations. That's a lot of roles.
Yeah.
But I hear you. Like, sure, they're not doing Uncharted,
Right.
So I hear you there.
It's still not a direction you want to head in.
And I find it very interesting because let me see. I gotta find the exact quote because it's the fucking quote that everybody uses when it comes to AI. Okay, this is my least favorite. Hartman said, "But when we talk about AI, first of all, hopefully it will help us to have new gameplay ideas, which has nothing to do with taking work away from anyone. And especially for games, we don't really have acting. The majority of the team sits in programming, and that's not going to go away because that's all about innovation. If it takes something, it will be really the boring parts." And this is always the line that's used for like, here's why AI is so good. It can take all those boring tasks and automate them, and no longer will a human have to sit there and do the boring tasks that a machine could just do for them. Yet time after time, we see AI constantly implemented in the most creative of forms, and we do see it try and like take away from those aspects and not clean up the most boring parts of tasks. Do I think there's definitely room for AI to be used when it comes to creating games? Of course. But to sit here and actively talk about acting and voice acting as I mean, that's the line I would draw in this statement, that is one of the boring parts to go ahead and just use AI for. I can't stand that this is constantly the argument that's used when time after time we're shown that's not what it's being used for.
Right, and now that they know that they can use it for more critical tasks, they're going to keep doing it.
Of course. Like you're always going to just keep doing that. It's funny because let's see, Dustin Bailey, who wrote the article for Games Radar, kind of has like a what I read as a dig against Hartman here, because Hartman goes on to say that humans will always be one step ahead. The machine might get very close. I don't know what you think, but I don't think it will be able to translate those unique things into fresh ideas. If you find AI designing games, the games are going to be all the same. That's what Hartman said. So continuing to push the narrative that, like, no matter what, we're never going to use it for the most creative aspects. But then to wrap up the article, Dustin says, I guess then it's just up to AI to replace the dull, artless tasks like acting and ensuring words carry the correct meaning when translated from one language and culture to another. I read that as a dig, not an honest take. So, I think that's like, yeah, that's exactly, the point that should be made. And I think why, like, this is an important first step in challenging the use of AI when it comes to games. And it's why I keep, we keep talking about how, like, we're going to hit a pressure point here soon enough. It's only a matter of time until it completely tips, because, like you said, they're constantly going to keep pushing. Once you see what it can do for one thing, you're going to see, oh, I wonder if it could do X, Y, or Z. And next thing you know, we are just going to have games that are fully made by AI. And you're going to have people on the internet constantly trying to convince you that, oh, no, this is actually really good, even though you're actively sitting there watching it and it looks like absolute dog shit. So, yeah.
Is it worth, like, okay, let's think hypothetically.
Okay.
The year is 2025.
All right. Now hang on.
A galaxy far, far away.
This is very close.
No games are made by people anymore.
Okay.
Are they, like, are video games worth playing at that point?
No. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, do I think do I think game, yeah, man, I don't know. Like, can you make a Call of Duty type game completely without any sort of human touch and not be worse off for it? I don't know. I don't know the right answer to that. But what I do know for a fact is that any instance where you are trying to tell some sort of story or convey a message, like, it is not going to be the same if there is no human element behind that. There's just no shot. And if stuff is like, if in a hypothetical future there was no human element to game creation, like, then you're just going to be playing the most, like, carbon copy Fortnite slop where, like, there is no message trying to be conveyed, and it's very, like, binary in terms of, like, purpose. That would be my expectation, at least. And so I don't know. Like, it would hit a point where I feel like it really wouldn't be worth engaging with.
I think that's where I'm at too. I don't know. And I think, like, sorry. for regular people that are playing video games, they probably don't give a shit if it's completely AI generated. I think for, people like you and I who actually like kind of care about the art of it, like I can't play a game without thinking about how it was built, and maybe that's why I don't enjoy games much anymore. But like, I feel like if I were playing something that weren't like thoughtful, um I just feel like I'd be wasting my time.
Yeah. No, I mean 100%. We didn't. I'm realizing we didn't even talk about it at the top. Games like we've been playing, but I'm playing a game right now called Spiritfarer, and it's about like. Do you know the game?
I've seen it. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't played it.
So it's like all about like death and like interacting with like that, that sort of thing, and like the general, uh coming to terms with it, and you interact with all these characters that have different backstories and likes and dislikes, and you have to kind of manage these relationships and basically get them to the point where they're finally ready to move on, and then you take them to the Everdoor and they finally like pass, right? I can't imagine AI building something like that. But do I think AI can build a bare bones management simulator, farming simulator game that provides fun gameplay? Probably. I don't really I don't really doubt that is in the realm of possibility, but what are you really getting out of it? And I think you're right. I think there are plenty of people who interact with games enough that aren't trying to get much more out of it than run fast, shoot good, or walk to point A, harvest crops, walk to point B, sell crops, And
I mean, think like Madden or like 2K.
Sure.
They're just iterative improvements. How many people do you really need? And and again, despite that, I still hope we don't go in this direction. But
no, for sure,
pragmatically,
for sure.
How many people do you really need to push the same game out every year?
And honestly, I don't know the answer to that. Like I wouldn't even want to assume, right, that like any sort of game creation is easy, right, by any means.
Sure.
I mean, I definitely think there would definitely be a lack of distinct quality. Which in a lot of ways I feel like we're already kind of getting hit with because of other factors, right?
Right.
With crunch and with just rushing things. I don't know if you saw Star Wars Outlaws. I've only really seen like one glaringly bad clip, but apparently there's a need for a ton of stealth in that game. So really up your alley.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
and it's so funny because I've seen that kind of levied as a negative for the game. But I was like, wow, this sounds perfect for Mike then.
If people hate it, I'll probably love it.
If there's too much stealth, it's potentially not enough for you, I would say.
Yeah.
But, and actually I'm really excited to hear your interaction with the game to see if it does live up to your like desire for stealth. But anyway, there's like been a clip where the player sneaks up on an enemy, grabs them from behind to subdue them, and then they kind of like clip like through an entire area and are seen by the enemies because of it, and like have the attention drawn to them. And it's like that's to such a ridiculous degree in terms of like a glitch or, bug, that it's like, but this is like the new norm, right? We've talked about that constantly, day one patches and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how the quality doesn't get even worse and even more diminished the more you pull humans out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're rushing humans and you're already getting a deteriorated product, how is the removal of them going to make it better? And you just can't convince me otherwise. But in the year 2025, who knows? Maybe when no longer humans make game, maybe.
Future's gonna be crazy.
Oh man, I'm so excited for this future that is 4 months away. Yeah, I don't know. Pretty crazy take though, from Amazon Games of all CEOs to come forward with these takes. Of course, it was Amazon.
What I find interesting is people already don't like Amazon for whatever reason. It's people's own opinion. Having a take like this doesn't help. Like it shows you're so disassociated from the gaming community. And you're trying to build a brand. I mean, look at Google. They couldn't build a video game brand.
Right.
Apple can't decide if they want to or not. I guess their games are doing decent, but then also like I feel like I only know about Amazon games because they announce a new game every year, but then I never see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, New World is like kind of the main one I know of at this point, and I hadn't heard of that in so long until it was announced that it was like officially coming to consoles.
Yeah.
And, and that's like a thing where it's like, wasn't the course already run with this game at this point? Like, do you really think you're going to draw in that much by finally bringing it to console? Maybe, but yeah, it's a pretty bold stance, especially as I feel like there's been a pretty solid movement within gaming, and maybe this is just in my own echo chamber, but I feel like there's been some pretty solid pushback against and why it's important to try and steer clear of AI, because again, we're so often seeing it attempted to be used to replace like artists and stuff like that. Again, do I think there are opportunities to use it as like a helper? Sure. I think that should come down to the individual artist, though. Certainly not a suit, and they're making the decision simply because they're looking at a spreadsheet, and not actually engaging with the human to human.
Yeah.
I mean, I know for a fact, deep in my heart of hearts, we are very close. If it hasn't already happened, we're very close to getting that first, like, this game was made entirely with AI. And I know for a fucking fact it is going to be dog shit. And the reason I know that is because some Joe Schmo has already done the bullshit of this movie was made entirely with AI. And it's 2.5 minutes, so not a fucking movie. And they have the audacity to be like, this is game changing, this is revolutionary. And it's dog shit. It is the worst slop you've ever experienced. And like, so I just know we're if it hasn't already happened, I know we're so close to it. And like, I just can't wait to watch people try and gaslight other people into actually know this is good, and it won't be. Like, you already know it won't be.
Right. It should be a genre. it shouldn't be the be all end all of content. Like, not all movies should be AI generated, not all games should be AI generated, but like, do I think there's room for a genre? Sure. Whatever. Like, if game development companies want to play around with that, then do it. But like,
Sure.
don't make it your bread and butter. And I mean even more so, like, so in my head, as like somebody who really likes technology, I would like to see it more so used as like at home. Like, somebody builds an AI application, so like me, I can say, "Oh, this is the type of game, like, I want to play a video game where I walk around New York City." And like basically just like Sims, but it's a real city, whatever. And I can just prompt that and it will generate a game for me. And then you can kind of prompt and reprompt to like kind of make the game what you want. Like, I see that as being kind of like a cool opportunity. Same with movies. Like, oh, I want to watch a movie about this. I think that there could be a cool like niche for that, but again, it's got to be like an at home like hobbyist kind of thing, not
Yeah.
a company going out and making these for people
In an attempt to generate revenue from it.
right. And like, I'm not saying you can't, like, somebody can't build like a subscription platform where you can do this, because you know nobody has the at home power to generate a movie or a video game like with AI.
Watch me.
At least, doesn't say, at least few people.
Sure.
So it'd probably have to be server based, but I see an opportunity for that. But again, not Activision saying new Call of Duty in Chat GPT.
Yeah. Hmm. Well, we'll see. We'll see what the usage becomes. But yeah, I definitely hope. I hope we're able to stave it off for at least a bit longer. Anything else from you on good old Chris Hartman and his terrible takes?
Nope.
Alrighty. Well, that will do it for this week's episode. Next week, already know Mike and I will be talking about Nintendo and their direct that they had technically this week. Just with some scheduling stuff, we have to pre-record. So as of us recording this, we'll be recording that tomorrow, but you can look forward to a recap of that and all the things that we're excited for from that event. Other than that, thank you all so much for listening. As always, if you could do us a favor and leave us a rating or review wherever you do listen to the podcast, that'd be greatly appreciated. And most importantly, if you could share the podcast with a friend, that would also greatly help us out. Other than that, we will talk to you next week.